Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today is episode 103, and we're going to be doing a group discussion about the article that Joey wrote, Joey Rizza. He's here today, and the article is Healing, 4 Things That Are Necessary to Begin the Healing Process. So we got Adam W. What's up, Adam?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing well. Glad to see you here again. And
Me too.
we got Kevin J. What's going on, buddy?
Hey guys, good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir. And we got Joey R. What's up, Joey?
Just a happy guy. Looking forward to talking to you guys about this.
That sounds good. It's good to be happy. So we're going to start off with you, Joey, reading the first part of the article. And after that, we'll dive in and dissect it.
Sounds good.
So I'm handing it over to you whenever you're ready.
Okay. Healing, 4 things necessary to begin healing. The natural healing force in each one of us is the greatest force in getting well. Hippocrates. Healing is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. It's about mending a wound. In order to heal, you must stay away from what broke you. That is not optional. To truly heal is to make whole, which involves so much more than just remaining sober. Healing is not an overnight process. Just work on being in a better place mentally and emotionally than you were the day before. To begin the process of healing and recovery, there are 4 things that are essential for you to do. 1, be honest with yourself. 2, forgive yourself. 3, have self-compassion. And 4, start living in the present. Number 1, honesty. Integrity is telling myself the truth, and honesty is telling the truth to other people. Spencer Johnson. Lying was something I did quite often when I had an alcohol use disorder, but I left that all behind with the alcohol abuse. In my new sober lifestyle, I no longer have a need to be dishonest. It's a wonderful feeling to be honest and authentic and not to have to worry about being caught in a lie. Without being honest to myself, I don't believe I would have been able to progress. I would not have been able to start the healing process. The path to self-healing begins with honesty. It's about being authentic and having integrity. To be honest means to be free of deceit and untruthfulness, to be sincere, straightforward, and genuine. When you are honest with yourself, you can accept all your flaws and all your weaknesses. It is the first step to self-improvement. Being honest with yourself requires self-awareness and courage. Having self-honesty is absolutely essential when you are making changes to your life. Self-honesty is also necessary for you to recognize all the inner strengths, your positive qualities, your good character traits, which will greatly help in your healing.
All right, that was a great read. I really appreciate that. So let's dive in here. Let's just talk about, first of all, mending a wound, because it says here it's about mending a wound in your article. So, Joey, explain that a little more when you said mend a wound. What kind of wounds are we talking about?
I think in my case, because every addict is different, every alcoholic is different, but usually something is broken. Sound right? Something is broken in you.
Yeah, no, I think something in all of us is broken and we're trying to fix it.
Trying to fix it. That's it exactly. So when I said mending a wound, we had basically something, a form of fear or helplessness, or we had some kind of pain or anxiety or some kind of issue that really wasn't making us who we really are, who we were meant to be, the child that we were, the way we were born. A lot of crap gets into your life, along the years, and it kind of breaks you down. So it sometimes creates a wound, and then you reach out and you try and cure that wound, and you grab onto something external, like we did, to grab some alcohol or some coke or some heroin or pain pills, whatever. I was done a few of those, so I'm familiar. But anyway, yeah, that needs to be mended. And the first thing to do is, if we're going to heal, is to stay away from whatever just what we tried before, to heal ourselves, using external substances, and that just creates more pain.
So does anyone else have anything on mending a wound? I mean, I don't know. I think deep down inside, if this makes sense, it goes back to father issues. So that was like kind of the wound I was trying to heal. I didn't have a dad. Well, he left when it was later in life. I was 17, but he just out of nowhere took off to Florida and we barely spoke. It's really not fun. So I feel like I carried that wound with me, because shortly after I started really doing drugs like coke and ecstasy and mushrooms and stuff like that. So I think that was the wound I was healing. Does anyone have anything like that they went through?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely can relate and identify with a deep father wound. My father was present physically, but not emotionally. I didn't really get many hugs or was told, I love you. And it was really difficult for me to really feel loved and nurtured in a way, to where I felt safe and protected and able to be my authentic self. And that's just one aspect of the wound. I experienced a lot of childhood trauma. And then as a result of my addiction, I experienced ongoing trauma, and homelessness and in incarceration. And there's just a whole lot to unpack. I can really appreciate how healing is a process. And in order to heal, I can't just deny what happened. It's important to go back into the armor and the walls that I have built in order to protect myself and feel safe. And so that really involves kind of picking at the scabs and going into the wound and allowing myself to feel what I need to feel to start that process. And of course, that starts with honesty and awareness. Those are some of my thoughts.
I agree with Adam. I think with a lot of us that are in recovery or became addicted, trauma was one of the number one things that I had to, that wound I had to heal. Childhood trauma, the trauma that I inflicted on people that I love, my children. And like Adam said, the homelessness, the incarcerations, the, everything that for me that went along with addiction and mental health. I was blessed to have, a great therapist and a great psychiatrist for several years. who understood that, solving your mental health, healing your mental health, has to come first and during your recovery from addiction. When I was out there, I didn't understand. I didn't know anything about trauma. I mean, I didn't understand it. I didn't really look into it, until I started recovery. And even in early recovery, somebody else had to tell me about it, because I didn't know anything, how it affected me. I didn't know how I affected my children. It was all new to me. And the honesty part in that is to recognize the part I played in inflicting trauma on my children, on my family, my sister, whoever. I didn't know that I played a part. When I was doing those things, the things that my addiction caused and my mental health caused, and ultimately I caused. I didn't understand how it affected other people. I thought I was doing the best I could as a parent, and even my middle daughter Jenna told me all about myself, that I didn't do the best I could. And I had to learn how to take responsibility for that. Be honest with myself, and understand that I couldn't blame it on anybody else. No matter what happened to me, it was ultimately my decision to do what I did, and I could have done it a different way. And until I got to that point, that was when I could start to heal. Thanks.
Yeah, mending a wound is something that a lot of us have to do in recovery. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, did you have something to say?
No. You were going on to honesty. I guess I was just going to jump in and say the reason why I kind of wrote about honesty, when I was thinking of what's necessary to start the healing process, I realized that probably all of us were deceiving ourselves. We
Well,
weren't
let's
being.
get to honesty in a moment,
Yep.
because I love the next line you have here, and I want maybe you to elaborate a little bit, and we can all
Sure.
talk about it. Is, in order to heal, you must stay away from what broke you, and that is not optional.
Right. We think at the time, because when we're drinking or when we're drugging, we think that it's like self-medication, right? We know, even if we don't admit it to ourselves, we know we have a problem, some kind of mental or emotional problem, and we take a substance, external substance, to try and heal ourselves. But now that we know better, the damage that it can do, and to everyone, at various stages of our addiction, we realize that once we've stopped that, when we still have feelings of being lonely or helpless or what have you, or abandoned, we got to know at that point, that's not an option anymore. The alcohol is not an option. The drugs are not an option. That's not going to work. So that's a part of it. That's the beginning of it, I guess.
Yeah. When I finally hit a place where the drugs weren't working anymore, because the drugs were my solution to all of this pain. All of the wounds that we're talking about, that feeling of not fitting in, or not feeling comfortable in my own skin, or all of those feelings that addicts talk about, the drugs and the alcohol were the solution to that. They numbed me out. They helped me to feel like I fit in. And so when you take away that solution, all you're left with is yourself, and basically the problem. So in order to begin the recovery process, That of course is essential, is being honest with yourself that the drugs and the alcohol are not working anymore, and all it's doing is creating this vicious cycle of pain and negative consequences. And when you've been relying upon these chemicals for so long, that's really hard to do. For me, the only way that I was able to stop was either jail or detox.
Right.
And sometimes that's necessary in order to break the cycle and separate yourself from the chemicals. I mean, that's been my story. That's my experience, that it was either I've tried a million times to stop on my own, but I was never successful at it. And I've tried all the different ways too, like switching just to pot or just drink or methadone and all those ways to try and figure out how I can keep these chemicals in my life, because life was just too painful without them. So yeah, something had to intervene, and usually it was blue lights and handcuffs.
So it says here, you must stay away from what broke you. And what broke me, my bottom was, getting into a huge fight with my ex-girlfriend, screaming and yelling, knowing she was pregnant. I shouldn't have done that. But as far as what broke me, it's pretty simple. It was alcohol and benzos were the main thing towards the end. And we'll Adderall too. But I think it's so simple to sound like, stay away from what broke you. That's not optional. Some of us feel like it is an option, where I don't know what we feel. It's just, we go right back to what broke us. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, we know that snorting whatever destroyed us. We were homeless. But how many times did a lot of us go back to it after trying to quit?
Yeah. I was thinking, I'm always researching. I did a lot of research when I was, in recovery, and I never realized that we get this false dopamine rush from the chemical, or the alcohol or the drug that we're taking. And then, depending on how long we've been doing it, when we stop, our body does not create the dopamine, that we need to be happy. It doesn't, we don't get those feel good chemicals anymore. The brain is not used to producing those. And that could last anywhere from 90 days to 6 months, without, the brain being retrained and being repaired, so it can give us, the natural dopamine and serotonin and I can't pronounce the other one.
Norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine. Yeah, my wife always helps me with that one.
Yeah,
But anyway,
that's completely right. You're completely right. That's how I explain to people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great to be past that point, and I really feel for people who are in that stage right now, because that's the difficult part.
And it's particularly difficult for I hear, not just opiate addicts, but the crystal meth now.
Oh, it's huge.
Oh yeah, it depletes so much of your dopamine. It takes like years for the brain to heal from that type of damage.
Wow.
Yeah, Joey, I think Joey's read a little bit of it. Not literally. I'm actually writing an article right now on crystal meth addiction, because what I've discovered personally is, as you guys were talking about earlier, I've done over 100 interviews, and I had to put it together. I'd say it's almost a 50-50 split between meth and opiates. So opiates have taken over the news lately, and, but meth is right up there with it. And, I know from firsthand data, I don't ask people for a particular addiction. And I just had someone speaking this morning about his girlfriend's addiction with the spouse's perspective. So I don't look for anyone in particular, but it's 50-50. Meth is out there, and it's a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the meth is being laced with fentanyl, because the way it works is you still get the high. It's not as high, but you get the high. But what happens is once the meth feeling wears off, you still have that little bit of fentanyl that's telling you go get more. That's the whole point of putting a little fentanyl in there. Because some people go, why mix an upper with a downer? That's why, because that little bit of fentanyl keeps you coming back.
Yeah, it gets you more physically hooked. Yeah.
Exactly. Instead of just mentally, more physically. Because meth is a mental thing.
Yeah.
I know it's fentanyl too. Now the big thing they're doing with fentanyl is cutting it with benzos. I mean, that kind of has the same effect as what you're talking about, is adding fentanyl to the meth. You know, it keeps them coming back.
Yep.
And a lot of people are dying over it, you know, of course.
Oh,
you know,
tons.
we all know that, you know, but you know,
Actually, I think I finished the crystal meth article, I think. And I'm writing now on fentanyl. So I'm learning a lot about fentanyl. And it only takes a few chemicals. You know, you can produce it very cheaply, and you can get a lot into the country. It's just a little bit, you know, it's 50 to 100 times, it's 50 times stronger than heroin, and it's 100 times stronger than morphine. So you only need a little bit.
Wow.
and then there's the new one that they just come out with.
Carfentanil?
No, it's 40 times stronger than fentanyl. Hold on, I'll find it in 2 seconds. But you know, it's just starting to emerge. It's actually was invented in the 50s, and it was
Is it
never.
carfentanil or no?
No, hold on, I'll tell you in 2
Okay.
seconds. And it was never ever approved for, you know, it was developed legally, but it was never approved to be used in any type of form in the United States. Here we go. Hold on. Nitazene.
What's it called? Say again.
Nitazene. And
I've never heard of that.
They're starting to find it in everything. In Ohio, it was really a big thing. I think around Columbus or something like that in the article that I read. And again, they're doing the same thing with nitazene that they did with fentanyl. They're putting it in everything. Meth, pills, weed. And it's, you know, it's going to take over soon. You know, and I'm sure once that hits the scene, they'll come up with something else. You know, it's just a never-ending thing. Yeah, but it's up to 40 times more powerful than fentanyl. And you just said how much fentanyl is more powerful than heroin and morphine, you know, so it just keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah, I recently listened to a book on Audible called Fentanyl Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, wow.
it's free too if you have an Audible subscription. And it's amazing how all these rogue chemists are coming up with these new designer drugs so fast that the FDA can't even keep up with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the nickname for that stuff is Frankenstein dope, nitazene, because it turns people into monsters when they take it.
And all you have to do is change one molecule.
Exactly.
And, you know, then it's legal.
Right. Yeah, I read an article similar to what you're saying. I don't know if it's the same one or not, but you know, they're manufacturing this stuff here in the United States, the nitazene, and in China. China is a big producer, and I checked online, and you can actually buy it not on the dark web, right off of Google. It's like, I don't know, 10 grams for $300, and they ship it to your house. I don't understand, you know, how we can get away with that crap.
Yeah. Well, should we get back to the solution?
Yeah. Again,
yeah. So
expanding on what you said, Adam. I mean, about being incarcerated, and you know, I got incarcerated a lot, and you know, after being in for a year and going to all the AA meetings and NA meetings and Bible studies, you know, the first thing I did when I got out was used, you know, alcohol, whatever was there, because I wasn't being honest with myself. You know, I wasn't accepting the fact that I can't use one more time, you know, and it's always that thought goes in, you know, in my head, you know, when I got out, that, and in other circumstances as well, that, you know, maybe if I use this time, it'll be different, you know. And I wasn't trying to heal what the real problem was. It was my mind, you know. You know, and I've learned, until I correct what's going on up there, I'm not going to get better, you know. And then again, being honest with yourself is one of the first steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're heading
You
to
know,
with this. You know, one of the things Joey said about honesty, and this is a quote by Spencer Johnson, is integrity is telling yourself the truth, or telling myself the truth, and honesty is telling the truth to other people.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's critical.
Thank you.
Sorry. No, go ahead, Kevin.
One other thing. Who wants to go?
No,
Go
you
ahead,
go,
Adam.
Adam.
Well, one other thing that was coming up for me was the stigma around like medication now, because a lot of people, you know, they might be able to break away from, for example, let's say the heroin, but they rely on maybe Suboxone. And there's a big stigma in the rooms, you know, that if you're using Suboxone, you're not clean. And I think that it's important to recognize that medication has its place, and it can be a tool to begin the healing process. Just to get yourself some structure and be able to start to function in society as a responsible citizen. I believe that you know, Suboxone has been a miracle drug. And there are groups that you can join, like MARS, Medication Assisted Recovery, where you can feel safe and not stigmatized.
Right.
You know, and that's just an important topic to bring up, that, you know, this idea that if you're on medication, you're not clean. And I think it's important that we have compassion and empathy for people that need medication.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, I agree with you. I'm a real life example of that. I stopped the pain medication and I was put on Suboxone. And well, I was thrown out of the pain medication. My doctor stopped. He said, you know, because I was doing other stuff, and you know, they did check my urine and said I can't continue to prescribe pain medication for you if you're gonna be smoking pot and blah blah blah. Anyway, so he stopped me on that. He sent me to a doctor who dispensed Suboxone, and I mean, Suboxone to me was like great. I started on it. We didn't get you high or anything, but it just I guess it stopped the cravings, but it's very powerful. I think it took me 3 to 4 months to wean myself off Suboxone. At the very end, there were just little granules that I was taking.
Yeah.
But you can wean yourself off it, you know, if you take your time, if you're determined, if you know. But yeah, you're right. There is a place for medication. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing too that I think here at Addicts Anonymous, we want to stress that, you know, anybody that's on, you know, medical assisted recovery is welcome with us. We don't judge, you know, and like you guys are saying, I've seen Suboxone work wonders with people. It didn't work with me because I wasn't ready yet. I abused it, as far as abusing the system and selling it and getting other people to go get it. You know, I think anybody that's done Suboxone knows the whole run around with that. But yeah, if I was ready to recover and I was given Suboxone, actually, yeah, I've been to rehab many times, and I did the Suboxone taper, you know, to come off of heroin in rehab. And, you know, it was a godsend for me. You know, I think it lasts 7 days. You know, they start you off on 16 and 8 and 4 then 2 or whatever it is. And, you know, and it really, you know, helped with the the withdrawal, from opiates when I was in rehab. But yeah, I have a good friend that's, she has pain issues and she was a heroin addict, and she started on Suboxone, and she hasn't touched heroin in 10 years. She still takes Suboxone, that limited amount, because of her pain, and it helps with her pain. And she makes a great living. She, is a respectable person, in society. All the things she wasn't when she was doing heroin, she is now. And I can't, I can't, there's nothing really bad except for the, like Joey said, the detox from Suboxone can be a little rough. But if you do it the right way, like he said, and assisted by a doctor, I think would help. You can stop it. I mean, it's like, it's like anything. You have to want to move on. If you think you're ready to go, from Suboxone, to just, relying on your recovery to help you through, then yeah, you can do it, but it is a little tough.
Yeah.
The next thing is talking about where you get into honesty now. Because the next line is, in my new sober lifestyle, I no longer have to be, or I have a need to be dishonest. It's a wonderful feeling to be honest and authentic and not to have worry about being caught in a lie. I'm sure we're all familiar with lying. I'm sure that we all have our fair share of lies. I used to, at first I would deny being an alcoholic. I did that for a long time. Then eventually I admitted it, but I said, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably lying. I was lying to myself because deep down inside, I wanted to quit, but I was making excuses for myself because I couldn't quit. So I was like, oh, it's okay. You can just be an alcoholic. That was just my brain saying, it doesn't matter. Just go drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was definitely a big one for me.
Yeah. The lying. Oh my God. I couldn't remember anymore what I lied about. I'd have to make up lies to cover another lie. And, it was awful, man. It was crazy, and even when I got clean, one of the first couple times, I found myself lying when I didn't have to, it's just the dishonesty or whatever you tell yourself. I'd lie about feeling good, and I'd lie about, I'm doing great. And, when deep down inside, I'm freaking hurting worse than I ever had before, just to keep up appearances, to make it look like I'm, one of the great NA or NA people, wanting to be at the top of my class or whatever you want to say. It's, yeah, I can't, the lying just was crazy, and like it says in the article, it is wonderful not to have to worry about, my lies coming back to hit me in the face. I don't tell lies anymore, so I don't have to worry about, covering up the lie and making up another lie to cover that lie. And, all that crap is gone, thank God. And again, that's a part of healing.
Yeah, God, lying, just like everybody else, was just so exhausting. Trying to remember what lie I told to all the people, and oh my God. So one of the huge lessons I've had to learn was not just being honest, but living in an honest way, to where I don't have to lie, because for a while there in recovery, I'll give an example. Like, I was in a relationship with a married woman, and obviously that was creating a lot of pain. And I thought I was doing good by just telling my sponsor and being honest about it, but justifying my behavior.
Right.
And it's not honest. It's not an honest way of living. And so I really had to learn that lesson, a very hard lesson, when I relapsed. You know, just caught up in all of the head games and ideas that she was going to leave him and we were going to live happily ever after. But so that was really important for me, is living in a way where honesty comes easy.
And it's not easy doing that. Like
No.
every now and then, someone will either ask me a question or I have to say something, and I start to lie. And I have to catch myself like, dude, you don't have to lie about anything anymore. Because I used to just make up random shit sometimes. Like it was just too much. I would lie about life experiences, obviously getting high, drinking. You know, in the beginning, I would deny it.
Yeah, so it's really like a twofold thing. It's being honest with other people, and I don't want to say more importantly, but at that point in your life when you are, you know, trying to get clean, want a recovery, want a better life, want to improve. Yeah, you do have to be honest with other people, but you really, really have to be honest with yourself. You have to look at all your flaws, look at all your weaknesses, and then you got to accept them. You got to say, hey, this, you know, these are the things that I do. That doesn't mean you're going to do them forever, but these are my weaknesses, and just admit them to yourself. Well, back, you know, years ago, and when psychology was at its infancy, that was really all that was looked at. You know, what's making you do this? What bad thing happened? What you know, what are your flaws? What is all that? And since the late 90s, now that we're into we've progressed to positive psychology, you in addition to looking at your flaws and weaknesses, you also need to recognize that you have these inner strengths. You have these, you know, positive qualities inside of you. But what you have to do is start cultivating them. You can't do it while you're using, you know, but once you get clean and then you want to start improving your life and recover, you can focus on the good things, and, you know, things, you know, being grateful for things, being kind to other people. There's so many, being generous, being compassionate. There are so many things. You know, I kind of studied a lot of Buddhist principles, so I try and apply those in my life, and especially when I was starting in recovery, just to be honest with myself and say, okay, yeah, okay, I you know, maybe I'm a kind person, but can I be kinder? Can I be better at this? Can I be more generous? Can I be a little bit more loving to my wife? Can I start talking nice to her? And you know, little by little, you can cultivate all these good things that are, you know, within you. So that's the part of being honest with yourself too, and that's the part that really helped me improve. You know, I said, wow, if I can do this, you know, what else do I need to work on? You know, what other good qualities can I work on? You know, and it just there's so many things that you can do, but they're there. You have the capability of being a better person. But again, if you're not honest with yourself, looking at your mistakes, looking at your flaws, your weaknesses, and then at the same time looking at your strengths, you know, that's really being honest with yourself. And once you do that, that's when you can start improving. That's when you can start healing, you know, at least in my case.
Yeah, and another thing I was thinking about too is, you know, I never thought how my lies affected other people either. You know, like for example, you know, we'd get the kids a PlayStation or a GameCube or something back in the day, you know, for Christmas. And 2 months later, I'm taking it to the pawn shop. And I'm coming back and they're asking where it is. And I'm saying, you guys spilled juice in it and I had to throw it away.
Oh God.
You know, and that's just crazy. You know what I did. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, and again, once I didn't realize what I was doing. You know, until I got into therapy, and you know, the effect that it had on my kids, or you know, my wife give me $20 to go put gas in the car, and you know, $10 in and $10 to the liquor store, and then come back. You know, we were driving down the road afterwards and say, man, there's something wrong with this car. It doesn't get very good gas mileage anymore. You know, it's just crazy the crap that we do and how it affects other people as well. You know, so I'm thinking it does. Who else is affected? I'm the one telling a lie, so it can't affect anybody else. You know, but ultimately it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned positive psychology now, and I think it's important. Well, it was really important for me to really start to try to bring the unconscious conscious. I think Carl Jung's work is very important, especially as it relates to trauma. Like one of my favorite psychotherapists is Peter Levine, who says that unhealed trauma is destiny. So I had to start recognizing these patterns in my life and get myself into therapy that really could start to excavate these behaviors and these patterns. And there's so much good cutting edge therapy out there now, like brain spotting is amazing, EMDR, CBT. But what I've really been getting into lately is bioenergetics. And what that does is it really gets you, it's a somatic therapy where it really gets you in touch with the body and into the heart, because trauma is stored and trapped in the body. So, you know, these are somatic exercises that you could do to really get in touch with the unconscious and heal from this stuff. And that way it breaks the patterns, the unconscious patterns that sometimes we get stuck in without really even recognizing it. Like a good example is, why do I keep getting into these destructive, toxic relationships? You know, a lot of us in recovery find ourselves in relationships that are chaotic and toxic and very painful. And that's just one aspect of you know, the shadow work that needs to be done in order to heal, in order to be a healthy person and have deep, rich, meaningful, healthy relationships. So I thought I would just bring that up.
No, that was great. So going a little forward here, give me 1 second. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was being honest with yourself requires self-awareness and courage. Having self-honesty is absolutely essential when you are making changes to your life. So the first line is being honest with yourself requires self-awareness and courage. So I think when it comes to self-awareness, it's just recognizing what you're doing. Or as you guys were talking about how you didn't think you were hurting anyone else. But self-awareness is about saying, I did hurt someone else. I am aware of the situation at hand. I know what's going on. So I am a drug addict. I am an alcoholic. I'm a compulsive gambler, whatever it might be. You have to, self-awareness ties in with step one. Just admitting your life is immeasurable and you can't handle your shit anymore. And you need help. So step one, self-awareness, are quite the same. You need self-awareness to actually take step one, if that makes sense. So I thought I'd bring that up. But self-awareness to me, like I said, is just about recognizing that you're hurting other people or you're hurting yourself. And it's about being honest with yourself, self-awareness.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Kevin. I think to me, self-awareness is like it's like a precursor to honesty. Once you become aware, then you have a choice to go back and deny that and have self-deceit, or to be honest with yourself and admit it. So yeah, that awareness kind of leads to being honest, I think, or having to be honest with yourself, which is what we're talking about. It's an important step, especially at the beginning.
Anyone else have anything on self-awareness?
Yeah,
No.
self-awareness for me has been huge. I love Anthony DeMello's work around awareness, and the practice of watching myself, kind of stepping outside of myself and watching and being aware has been crucial for being honest and also my spiritual growth and maturation. So yeah, it's definitely a vital exercise as far practicing self-awareness and bringing all this stuff to the surface. Very important.
Okay. So the next part is, and just so everyone knows, we lost Kevin. He had to drop off. We're going to continue on here. We're almost done. So then that part of the sentence is being honest with yourself requires self-awareness and courage. So courage is a big thing. I think I know for me, I needed it to go to rehab. I was nervous as hell. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't want to go. I was not into it. I knew I needed it. And it's about taking the courage to make that step. Because I think self-awareness and courage tie into step one. Because you need courage to take that step. Once you're aware of what you're doing and how it's affecting you, how it's affecting other people, and it's making yourself, your life unmanageable, that's where you need the courage to take the next step and say, okay, let me get help. Or some people don't do that. Some people wean themselves off and they get sober on their own. But that's rare. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the idea of like pain is a very good motivator.
Yeah, it very, very much could be. It very much could be.
Like until the pain of remaining the same becomes great enough, then we have the courage to take another path, make a new choice. And it's really hard, especially in the beginning, because as an addict, I don't like change. Change is scary. I get into these routines and patterns where it feels safe. So courage is definitely something where you have to really dig down deep and get help and support in order to make new choices, new positive, healthy choices with, like you said, self-awareness and honesty. And a lot of times you need an ally. You need a friend, you need a sponsor, you need a support group, you need family support. All of these tools help me to build courage and really the willingness to change and make new decisions and new positive, healthy choices that bring about real recovery. And courage can be hard to tap into unless you have that support.
Sure, absolutely.
So moving on a little bit here, it's really just coming towards the end where it's just saying self-honesty is also necessary for you to recognize all your inner strengths, your positive qualities, and good characteristic trait or good character traits, which will greatly help in your healing. So I want to talk about inner strength and not to just bring up Addicts Anonymous, but that's part of our thing is you need inner strength and courage that you may not even know it was there to apply to the program we've come up with. And everyone has it. I think we all have an inner strength, and I think we all have an inner courage.
Yeah, we do. And I think one of the inner strengths that can be developed even more, and what is really needed to help us cope with all the difficulties and the challenges that life just throws at us day after day, is resilience. The ability to handle all that stuff, and some stuff just accept, and some stuff just work with, and whatever it takes just to get through those challenges and problems. But resilience is kind of like the ability to bounce back. Like okay, that I'm just going to let that roll, or just go right over my head, because if I fight it, it's not gonna do me any good. But I think that's a big thing, being resilient. Especially as a recovering alcoholic or addict. It's kind of vital to be resilient, because life keeps always throwing shit at you. It just does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I was had a period where I was going through a lot of grief in my recovery, because I was a big baseball star growing up, and was supposed to I was good enough to go into the pros, and of course, drugs lost that opportunity. And a friend of mine pointed out, like, that the fact that being a baseball player, or any sport really, there's a lot of character traits involved that I can still utilize, like discipline, and like inner strength, the showing up, the willingness to win, teamwork, that drive. Um, so now I apply all those principles to my recovery, and resilience is definitely one of them. Baseball is a game of failure. you usually get out or strike out more than you get a hit.
Yes.
So, and same as basketball and golf and football. I don't know if any of you guys were into sports, but I try to use those principles and apply them to my recovery, and it's been really helpful.
That's great. So the last thing I have is we're going to talk about healing. It's because it says, your good character traits which will greatly help in your healing. So how do we heal? For me, it was just taking it one one day at a time. I was mentally just distraught. I was all over the place, so I had to take it one day at a time. And for me, healing was doing things like self-care, make sure I was taking my proper medication. I also did meditation, which was huge in helping me. Read a lot of books to help myself understand myself and the brain and how that works, and different principles and philosophies. So healing was a process for me. It was a combination of different things.
Yeah, I think it was the same for me too, Jim. Sorry. Yeah, I immediately, I had been meditating before, even before getting sober, but it became more important to me to meditate then. It meant something more, once I started reading about it, and, how to to get something out of it. It wasn't just a matter of, kind of just blocking out your mind or your thoughts. It's sometimes just listening to your thoughts and just letting them go by. And, a lot of things come into your head that aren't even true. I mean, there's thoughts that flow through your head. They say that the average human being has 50,000 thoughts a day, and I was like, no, that can't be. And then I was watching myself and like, wow, yeah, I just thought about like 18 different things in a matter of like 3 seconds. And a lot of them are just useless information, So when we practice mindful meditation, you center yourself and you focus on the present, what's happening now, what in a non-judgmental way. So there's that we can go on and talk about meditation, but that is a good part of healing, though. That's really helpful, and especially for myself, was that self-improvement. I think I wanted to be a better person. And since I'm retired and my wife's working, she works as a nurse in the OR. She's gone for like 10, 12 hours a day. And I don't want to just keep bugging and hanging around with my friends. So I did a lot of reading, and I still do. And there's a lot of information out there that's very, very helpful. Not everything could be applied, but there's so much out there that can help you develop as a person, help you to be happy, help you to find that, that positive lifestyle, that way of living where you don't even, you get to the point where, I don't have no need, no desire for alcohol anymore or drugs, because I have focused on positive things to help improve my life, so and not materially, just all within the head, that's really where, like things like I said before, like gratitude and kindness and generosity and compassion, all those things, are beneficial. They help you move forward, and they help you develop. And we're going to be learning something new for the rest of our lives. Till the day you die, you're still learning. You can never learn enough. You can never improve enough. But it's going in that positive direction, I think, is necessary. Especially for addicts and those who suffered with alcohol abuse.
Absolutely, I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah,
So I think no,
I
go
still
Adam.
I still do a tremendous amount of healing work. And one of the kind of traps that I was in for a little while was just really focusing on meditation, and which was very beneficial for me. I love meditation. Um, but what I discovered is that healing doesn't take place in the head. Healing takes place in the heart.
Mm.
Um, so I really started getting into Sufism, and then I was introduced to this grounding spirituality that I'm talking about as far as somatic healing work with the body. And that has been huge for me. And you know, I just highly encourage anybody on a spiritual path that's trying to heal is to there's so much out there to explore.
Mm.
And I think as long as your energy and focus is on that, it's a very good thing. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, Adam, have you read any of Eckhart Tolle, who speaks about the body pain?
Yeah, the pain body,
Pain body.
the power.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, the power of now, and that it definitely has its place. I think it's good work, but I don't. I think it's more uh disassociated, really. Um, just for me, that's what it feels like. Like his work didn't really resonate with me because it, yeah, it's all head stuff.
Isn't that great though, that there's so much out there that, since we're all unique individuals, that we could apply, what we need for ourselves. And I think that's the thing. There's no one size fit all program,
Yeah,
re- recovery program. Yeah. And you
yeah,
just make
yeah,
me realize that it just, everything is unique to the individual. It's what you take out of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
No two recoveries are the same.
Right. Right.
Because just like there's no two people exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I highly recommend Jeff Brown's new book, Grounded Spirituality. It's amazing.
I am actually reading the Gabor Mate's book that we talked about a week ago, in the realm of
The Hungry Ghosts.
Hungry
Yeah,
Ghost. Yeah, yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. And that's when I started realizing, him with his work in Vancouver, how bad things can really get from some people. I mean, just how addiction could really, really hurt your body. I never got to that point where I was, had, blood diseases and ulcers and all that kind of stuff and HIV. And so I can't really relate to that. So those people need something a little different than what I need to
Yeah,
recover,
yeah,
So, yeah,
They all,
it's so I'm so grateful that there are so many things out there and so many people out there to help those of us who are in need. And then once we get to a point, we can, we do the same thing. We try and help other people. And I think that's what Addicts Anonymous is about, really. Am I right, Jim? I mean, just helping other people.
yeah, it's just we want to be a resource. We want to, I highly recommend everyone goes to addicts-anonymous.com. Just click on the resources page. There's a ton of stuff, no matter what your addiction is, sex addiction, video game addiction, drug, alcohol. There's also our approved literature page where Joey, you write for us. This article is going to be posted on the website. So we have a lot of resources available. We want to, I mean, going back to the conversation, we want to help people heal. So we want to have stuff available, so the articles range from talking about actual drugs like crystal meth, fentanyl, then they go to range from schizophrenia and addiction examined. We look at a lot of different things, bipolar, just so people, a lot of them hopefully could find something that relates to them. So that's what Addicts Anonymous is about. I'm excited to, continue to grow it, have people working with us like Joey, be part of the team. So
And
yeah,
I really appreciate and love the fact that we have a safe space to open up and talk about all this stuff. Because
yeah,
like you sometimes, my experience with like AA and NA, if you bring up a topic or a book or something, oh, that's not recovery approved, AA approved literature and all this stuff,
yeah.
it's not the open mind that they talk about. And I think it's just really beneficial and important for there to be a space like this where you can get any resource or go any direction you need for your recovery. And that's just a beautiful thing.
Thanks. I
No,
mean, I appreciate it. We work hard at it. But yeah,
Yeah.
does anyone have anything else they want to add to healing? Because I think that's a good place to wrap up. That's the end of that part of the article. And this was part one. We're going to be doing part two next week or the week after. And that is what, forgiving yourself, Joey?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Forgiving yourself.
So yeah, we'll do that. So for everybody watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. Also subscribe. You'll see when we upload new videos. You can check Addicts Anonymous out on Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, TikTok. We also have the website, like I mentioned, one more time, it's addicts-anonymous.com. So that's all we have for today, and we'll be talking soon. So until next time.
Thank you, guys.